On Pokemon Day in 2025, the starters for Pokemon Legends ZA were finally revealed to be Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig, which were major surprises. And if we're going to follow what happened in Pokemon Legends Arceus, where the starters got new evolutions, new regional forms, we are going to have to ask, what are the other typings going to be for these iconic starter Pokemon? Hey guys, I'm Rob, this is Haus, and today we're going to be taking a quick look at what the typings could be for the ZA starters. Before we dive in though, I'm going to ask that you guys like and subscribe, for liking if you enjoyed this video and you find it to be informative, and subscribing if you enjoy Pokemon content, as we have new Pokemon content coming out almost every single day. Also, make sure to let me know in the comments section below what typings you think that the new starters for Pokemon Legends ZA are going to get. So, as we stated already, and we're going to dive in here officially, we got new starters or new evolutions for the three starters back in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Samurott, Oshawott to Samurott here, went from water to water dark. Cyndaquil and Typhlosion went from fire to fire ghost. And then Rowlet Decidueye from grass ghost to grass fighting. All three kept their first typings, so we can presume that these three are going to. It seems pretty obvious at that point. But we can also assume they're probably going to get new ones if, again, they continue this trend. And it is worth noting that the starters in this game could get Mega Evolutions separately, and so they don't even do the regional forms, or the regional evolutions, like we were talking about, or they could get both. There is also, obviously, the neither option, which is where they just get to keep their normal evolutions. They don't do anything special, but that feels like a next to 0% chance of happening, so we're going to kind of just scrap that one. And we're also going to scrap the Mega Evolutions, mostly because it feels like there's a chance that they could get Mega Evolutions, without a doubt. But it seems pretty obvious and more likely than anything else that we're going to get regional evolutions, again, if they follow what they did in Legends Arceus. So now that we have all of that out of the way, the first major reason why I believe, and why we at Haus here believe, that we're going to get these regional evolutions is because of one detail that a lot of people noticed from the very beginning, which was that Chikorita has Disarming Voice, which is a fairy type move, and it has it already before it's going to evolve into Bayleaf. If this ends up being the case, then that means that Meganium is going to be Grass Fairy, and that would probably make sense. As a quick reminder, the Grass Fairy Pokemon that we already have in the game are Cottonee and Whimsicott, Morlul and Shiinotic, and Tapu Bulu. So not exactly a ton of Pokemon with that typing, which would make it fun. And it feels like, unless if they just decided to add this move to Chikorita just kind of out of the blue, maybe just to make it a little bit stronger, it feels like we're definitely heading towards that sort of conclusion that Meganium will be Fairy Grass, which I know a lot of people have been talking about since we had Pokemon Day and the Pokemon Presents with the Legends ZA trailers in them. Based on how that goes, we are going to need typings that are baked around Fairy to help us figure out what Emboar and Feraligatr might end up being. And again, we're going to reference Legends Arceus, as that's really the only reference point that we have, and see that the secondary typings were still mostly super effective against what they were already very super affected by, with Fire, Water, and Grass being that trio. But you're going to notice that there is something slightly different. Fighting is not effective against Ghost, and Ghost is not super effective against Fighting. So this is going to be something that we may have to keep in mind as we are deciding on the other two typings for Emboar and for Feraligatr. So hang with me here. This is going to be a lot of information. I'm going to do my best to try to break this down as easily as possible. If Chikorita / Meganium are Grass and Fairy, then it should stay super effective against Totodile and Feraligatr if we're following the same concept that Legends Arceus did. Especially considering that Fairy is not very effective against Fire, which means that, obviously, right, that's not going to be, Emboar is not going to have or keep its fighting type at this point. So that means that Feraligatr would either need to be fighting dragon, or dark as its second typing. Or, I guess, if Fairy is the one that's going to be like Ghost was in Legends Arceus, where it's more of a typing that is less or not affected at all by Feraligatrs, then Feraligatr could still be fighting in Dark, but you could also add in Bug, which would certainly be an interesting typing for Feraligatr. That being said, based on it being a Gator and everything, right, it feels more likely that they're going to do the first part, so we're going to stick with Fighting and Dragon or Dark typing as what we're going to get for Feraligatr. So in this case, I want to make sure that I have this right here. So if I miss anything, let me know. But in this case, it would be interesting, and it feels like it could work making Feraligatr Water and Dragon, which would then lead to Emboar getting Fire and Steel typing by consequence of what we're doing with Feraligatr and Meganium. And this would allow us to have, obviously, Dragon, which is not very effective against Steel, and Steel being super effective against Fairy typing, which would, you know, kind of put Dragon a little bit at a disadvantage in this situation, but it would still be a great typing and one that I think a lot of people would, you know, be excited about. And let's be honest here, right? Alligators and crocodiles, you know, they feel like former dinosaurs, and dinosaurs and dragons kind of intermix to a certain degree in most of the lore in people's minds, right? So this absolutely could work, and Feraligatr just feels like it could very easily, you know, shift into being a dragon Pokemon without a doubt. And for Emboar, I think I saw somebody on Twitter or Reddit who mentioned that Emboar could be like a blacksmith, which would be awesome. It would definitely fit into that typing. Or, you know, they could change up the look of it even a little bit more than that and add that steel typing in a more significant way. Maybe even the flames around it are like some sort of steel with the flames coming off of that steel or something like that. There's a lot of different ways that you could go with this, but very interesting to say the least. But then there's one more option. And it feels like while the Water and Dragon would be amazing for Feraligatr, Water and Fighting would actually potentially make a little more sense. Mainly because it would allow for Meganium to be 4 times super effective, as it is Grass and Fairy, against Feraligatr, right? While Emboar would finally shed that Fighting type officially, and would be Fire and Steel again in this scenario, which would be 4 times affected by Feraligatr, and then it would be 4 times effective against Meganium. So that's kind of where we're at here for what these Pokemon Legends ZA starter typings are going to be. I'm going to give you my final prediction, and it's going to be Meganium as Grass Fire, Feraligatr as Water Fighting, and Emboar as Fire Steel. But you guys know the Pokemon Company, and even just based on what we got for these starters alone, there's a very good chance that they just completely change everything up and do something just completely off the wall that none of us expect, right? I really wouldn't be totally surprised if the, you know, Fairy typing, the Disarming Voice is a complete red herring and they just go, you know, completely the other way. Maybe they make Meganium, right, a Grass Dragon Pokemon or something like that, right? They're clearly going to do something with these starters. And anybody who feels differently, I would love to hear your reasonings as for why, but there's no way they're going to make these 3 the starters and then just not do anything with them, right? You have 2 starters that don't have anything really extra going for them, right? They don't have any additions in any of the new gimmicks that I can remember right now. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so, right? They don't have a double typing, and Tepig and Emboar have long been some of the least favorite of the fire starter evolutions and the starting evolutions in general. And I remember a lot of people being really upset when Emboar came out, and then Incineroar right afterwards, right? Where it was, are we only going to get fire fighting types? So it just feels like a great opportunity for them to change things up, to continue what we saw in Legends Arceus. And let's be real here, if Emboar were to keep the fire fighting type, it would just be a joke at this point. That would be, I'd feel bad for all the Tepig and Emboar fans, and it would just definitely be a little bit of a disappointment. So that's going to wrap it up for us on this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Like I said, let me know if you think that these starter combinations make sense. If you see something else that maybe that I missed, love to hear from you guys. Love any of the feedback that you have for these types of videos. But yeah, like I said, that's going to wrap it up for us. So from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.